Okay, this is chapter 51 of The Night Singer. 51. As Hannah drove over to Oland, Eric called Ove to give him an update. The line was busy, so he sent a message telling him to call back. He was still looking down at the phone in his hand when a picture came through from Supriya. Nyla and Yadu were standing by a set of prison bars, pressed up against them as though they were trying to escape. He was never like that with me, Supriya had once said about the way Yadu played with Nyla. As a girl, she had been expected to keep quiet and do as she was told. While she helped her mother with whatever their maid hadn't managed, her brothers were free to do what they liked. Still, her parents had encouraged her in her studies, worried that she would never get married, and then welcomed Eric with open arms. Before they retired, Yadu had run his own liquor business, and Ivaka had been a chef. Just as Eric sent off an emoji to his wife, Ove called him back. "How's it going?" he asked. "Speaking to him just strengthened our suspicions," said Eric. "You should probably get someone to do a thorough search on Marcus Johansson. Find out whether he has been in touch with any other boys around Joel's age on that forum, or other forums. He mentioned that he used to work for a suicide prevention line." "Already done. How far have you gotten?" "We're on the bridge," said Eric. "Was Fanny at home?" "Sadly not, but given the state the house is in, the search is going to take a while. She might still turn up." Eric doubted Fanny would return to the house while the police were rummaging about inside, but he didn't say that. Instead, he felt a sudden urge to laugh. It was as though Hannah's pessimism had rubbed off on him. She seemed unusually sulky today. "I want you and Hannah to do a loop of the area looking for her," Ove continued. Once they hung up, Eric recapped what they had been asked to do. "Okay," she said. "If the kids still hang out in the same places they did when I was younger, I know where we should check. We'll start with the school." The traffic on the bridge was heavier on the weekend than it was during the week, but still nowhere near as bad as it could be in the summer months. "It feels like there's something about Joel that no one wants to mention," said Hannah. "Yeah, but what?" "I don't know." Hannah took the exit onto the 136 at far too high a speed, and Eric had to grab the door handle to stay upright. She gave him an irritated glance, but he ignored it and kept his eyes fixed on the windshield, on the yellow and green fields, the solitary trees flanking them. It was so bleak around here. Just as the thought came to him, they passed a small cluster of houses and a windmill. Hannah turned off toward Guardby, and the road narrowed. "What were you like at school?" he asked. "How is that relevant?" "Were you like Fanny?" "No," said Hannah. "More like Joel, if anything." Did she mean she was gay? He couldn't exactly ask, so he stayed quiet instead. Though on second thought, why not? It shouldn't be any more charged a question than asking what shoe size someone had. "Are you gay?" "No. Are you?" "I have a wife," Hannah snorted. "I know," said Eric. "That doesn't mean anything." As they approached Guardby, he actively began keeping an eye out for Fanny, though he didn't see anyone who looked like her. Just people working in their gardens and a couple of women out with strollers. Hannah parked up by the school. One quick lap of the main building was enough to establish that there were no teenagers anywhere nearby. A couple of younger children were playing on the jungle gym in the yard. "Are you from the police?" they called after them. Just a week ago, that probably wouldn't have been their first guess. Eric raised a hand and grinning. "Where now?" he asked. "The harbor." The harbor proved to be farther away than he expected, and they had to drive through another small village to get there, past another rows of houses, and more of the ever-present fields. When they arrived, Eric climbed out of the car, the Baltic stretching out in front of him. He felt the same sensation he had earlier, but much more powerfully this time. It was so bleak around here. Without saying a word, Hannah moved toward the water's edge and stood with her back to him. Eric did a quick lap of the harbor. A few small huts were the only buildings to speak of, and though he doubted Fanny would be hiding in any of them, he tried their doors and peered in through the windows anyway. On one of the jetties, he saw a man around his age fishing with a casting rod. "Are they biting?" "No," said the man. "The water's getting too warm." Eric knew nothing about fishing, but nodded as though he did. "How long have you been here?" he asked. "Couple of hours." "Have you seen anyone else while you've been here?" "Just Henrik working on his boat." Eric nodded again, as though he knew who Henrik was. He glanced over at the few boats that were tied up. Simple motorboats for the most part, plus a couple of rowing boats. "No teenagers?" "Nope." Eric thanked him and headed back over to Hannah. The man had shown zero interest in who Eric Eric was, despite him snooping around the huts. Back in Malmo, he wouldn't have been able to ask questions like that without receiving thousands of counter-questions in return. The man had probably realized he was from the police. His phone started ringing, a call from the same number that had sent the threatening message to Hannah. He held up the screen for her to see and told her about the message he had sent. "Want to take it?" he asked. "I really don't." If anything, she looked like she wanted to grab his phone and toss it into the water. Hannah's anger surprised him, but he didn't have time to process it. He had to answer before they hung up. "How can you claim you understand?" an angry woman's voice asked him. But the woman had no intention of letting him speak. "You have no idea what it was like to see her around here again. Her dad killed my mom. She struggled to catch her breath for a second or two before hanging up. Eric met Hannah's eye. It probably wasn't the phone she wanted to throw in the sea. It was him. "Did Esther have a daughter?" he asked. "Yeah, Maria." "Well, she's the one who's been threatening you."